You know, Emma, I was thinking back to my college days, silly things I did in college. Nothing I did, I think, could beat something that you did, which was shaving your head. Is that true? Why did that come about?
Because I was sitting around with my mates in the house we were living in, and we were looking through. I think it was about the time when Tutankhamun was on display at the British Museum, and they said, "God, Em, you look just like Nefertiti with no hair." And I said, "Let's try." So we did. I didn't look like Nefertiti. I looked like I looked alarming. Put it that way.
Yeah, and another thing that you did, you were a stand-up comedian for a while. In America, that's quite popular. In England, how big of a market was there, and how successful were you at it?
It wasn't like, I mean, actually, the writing I got really sort of paid for properly was more sketch writing and monologues and stuff. And the stand-up I used to do at benefits, really, and I used to sort of practice it. But I never really wrote more than 15 minutes, finally, all in, that really worked, because it takes ages to write good stand-up. And that is the hardest thing, I think. It's just the hardest. I take my hat off to anybody who does it brilliantly, like, Stephen Wright or, I don't know, Rita Rudner. These people are geniuses, and then they get up and do it. That's hard.
Well, turning to this film, speaking of writing, I enjoyed your diary in Premiere Magazine about Remains of the Day.
Yeah.
When you sat down to write this film, the romantic image of a writer, of course, is beating on an old typewriter. Of course, the more practical thing is a brand new computer. Which avenue did you decide to pursue?
I did every avenue. I started off with sort of pencil and paper. I graduated onto pen and ink, I wrote several drafts that were kind of this size, longhand. Then I'd write them very, very neatly. Then I typed it, and I wrote a couple of drafts on an electric typewriter, I remember. And then I bought a computer. And thereafter, reader, my problems began. Because every week something would scramble something, or, I hate computers. I mean, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. And I talk to my computer all the time, but I sort of see it, I regard it with the same kind of trepidation as a sort of elderly relative with Alzheimer's, I just don't know whether it's going to recognize me or what we've been writing, what we've been working on, or not. It might, and it might be perfectly lucid, or it might just have gone, oh, with it and lost it, and it's going to take me weeks to find it. I think they're very strange things, computers. I think you have to be very kind of clever to work with them.
I think one of the most challenging things for an actor must be working with temperamental co-stars on a film. I'm looking at all the sheep, dogs, and horses in this movie. How cooperative were they?
Well, the sheep were quite funny because the sheep had not been shaved. The sheep had to grow their hair. You know that sheep obviously have their hair removed for the summer. They have haircuts. And these sheep, in order to retain the period look, because clearly they weren't shorn as often in those days, had to have the full coat during the summer. So they used to get sunstroke. So suddenly you'd be in the middle of, chatting away, and then behind you you'd see a sheep just go, just keel over in the back of the shop. Oh my God! What's wrong with the sheep? There's a sheep. The sheep's fainted. So we did a lot of kind of, rushing up with, orange halves and water, it's patting them, get up, get up. And finally we allowed the shepherd to shave them. But Ang said, after working with these darn things, he said, no more sheeps. He always used to refer to them in the plural. And someone corrected him, which was I greatly regretted, because I just loved hearing him say, where are the sheeps?